Climate change is gotta be the most intriguing topic, yet horrendous at the same time. We are right now experiencing extreme heat waves, storms, droughts, and countless cyclones as well as typhoons. Seriously, the consequences are detrimental and the future prospect is honestly grim. But to be fair, if things have really gotten out of control, humanity is already at its apocalypse by this point. Nevertheless, in the recent years, our ecological restoration efforts actually have paid off. Since I self-researched this topic, I'd advise you not to take this as a reference, but rather a compilation of information regarding the topic of climate change. Historically speaking, the current rate of our climate change has never been seen in the last 10,000 years. However, scientific evidence abounds about this, so it's pretty difficult to deny the reality that we're living in. Much of the Earth's warmer periods in the past was only attributed to a teeny tiny variations of the Earth's orbit. This explains why there have been 8 cycles of ice ages and warmer periods. According to the Intergovernmental Panel, scientific evidence for climate change is unequivocal. It is also evident that increased greenhouse gases is linked to increased Earth's surface temperature. Our paleoclimate evidence extracting from coral reefs, ocean sediments, and layers of sedimentary rocks have actually helped us to understand the current staggering emission rate of carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, the contemporary climate change rate is at an unprecedented level, with tens to hundreds times higher than the latest ice age emission rate. If this is not overwhelming enough, then catch a glimpse of this image of nature. Our ocean right now is warmer because it pretty much absorbed much of the excess heat. Right now, global sea level has risen 8 inches in imperial units and 20 centimeters in metric units respectively. Moreover, our beloved ocean is undergoing a process called ocean acidification, with a 30% increase in the ocean's surface acidity level. To actually put this into perspective, take a look at this picture. This is a petropod, a free-swimming sea snail that feeds on plankton and acts as a vital link for the entire marine ecosystem. If your question is, why does this matter? Then it's all about trophic cascade. This happens when there's a disruption within a food web. For example, if we were to completely eradicate petropods from the marine food webs, the predators' populations then are likely susceptible to food shortage or even local extinction. On top of that, the organisms whom petropods often snack on will become out of hand. This explains why trophic cascade can have cumulative effects, which brings us into another topic of food insecurity. Per FAO, an estimated of 29% of the global population experience food insecurity, ranging from moderate to severe. Prominent examples can mostly be found in Africa, with Nigeria currently sitting on the brink level of acute food insecurity, followed by Sudan, the DRC, and the other countries. Without proper actions, it is predicted that the global economy would incur $2.7 trillion of losses if it reached the ecological tipping points, which include the provision of food from marine fisheries, wild pollinators, and timber from native forests. Ecological tipping points are literally thresholds where negligible change can lead to larger ecological shifts that are often irreversible. For instance, let's talk about coral reefs. Exactly. These crowded sea-looking creatures are famously known as the rainforests of the sea. Now, I believe this analogy has somewhat helped you unveil what I'm about to say. Rainforests themselves play a huge role in regulating our polluted air. They serve as barriers to floods, as well as prevent erosions and landslides. Now, you probably have guessed that coral reefs may have the same benefits. Indeed, you're right. Coral reefs act as natural powerful water breakers. They absorb like 90% of the wave's energy, which in turn significantly buffers the shoreline against storm surges and tsunamis. In addition, coral reefs and sponges are filter feeders. They basically capture pollutants and consume them and expelling the rest of clean waters to the ocean. Therefore, the absence of such weirdly looking creatures can actually have extensive impacts on our biodiversity. Sadly, we're inadvertently harming them without realizing it. Choosing coral reefs to represent ecological tipping points is actually an excellent way to explain the latter, because right now, as I'm speaking, coral reefs are bleaching. What's concerning is the shift from vivid colors to dual whitish hues. If this continues, we will lose every amenity coral reefs had once given us. Its natural service? Gone. There will be no more underwater diving, no more cool marine activities, and no more summer vacations at the beaches. These are the ways our global economy would be damaged if climate change persists. Fortunately enough, humanity is actually trying bit by bit to mitigate the devastating impacts of climate change. There are a few notable international meetings that I'd like to point out with regard to this topic. But before going further, it is better to introduce you to the concept of COP or COP, acronym for Conference of the Parties. Basically, it's the annual meetings between nations operated under the United Nations Framework Conventions on Climate Change, or UNFCCC. Now let's talk about the Kyoto Protocol. This protocol was enacted in 1997 and was the first ever legally binding international document regarding climate change. It has also brought forward a resolution by introducing carbon markets. Carbon markets simply mean the credits exchanged between the compliant emitters and the over emitters for revenues. Nevertheless, the Kyoto Protocol still ultimately resulted in failure. The United States, though signed it, never actually ratified. Canada later withdrew from the agreement, and China was not bound to the targets because of its quote-unquote developing status. The protocol also fundamentally lacks a punitive system, which again is likely the reason why it failed. Copenhagen, or COP15 in 2009, is also another embarrassing failure. The summit turned into a mere political statement instead of a formal accord. It originally intended to keep global temperatures rise below 2 Celsius and sought to establish a legally enforceable international climate treaty. Regardless, many experts and observers maintain that COP15 was not a success, unlike the Kyoto Protocol, who has mixed opinions. These events are pretty old, isn't it? So let's talk about now. Recently, we just had COP28 in Dubai, as well as the Paris Agreement in 2015, which is a part of COP21. COP28 again reaffirmed their financial support for developing countries. Additionally, convener countries altogether are compliant with time-bound targets around specific themes, such as water and sanitation, food and agriculture, livelihoods, and poverty eradications. COP21 also introduced the Paris Agreement. There were 196 countries worldwide unanimously pledged in the Paris Agreement, all agreeing on limiting the increase in global temperatures well below 2 Celsius. It is undeniable that without these international accords, our world is pretty much doomed by this point. Our ecological efforts in reducing carbon emissions significantly help the planet. Before in 2015, the world is projected for a rise to 3.5 to 3.7 Celsius of warming. Luckily now, the number has plummeted, with only 2.4 to 2.8 Celsius. Without these events, I am pretty sure you would not be sitting here this calm. As of now, major countries are implementing a wide variety of practical solutions to prevent this man-made disaster. According to the International Energy Agency, or IEA, global investment in clean energy is on a course to rise to $1.7 trillion in 2023, with solar set to eclipse oil productions for the first time. Clearly, we can see the rising trend of clean and renewable energy lately. China, Canada, India, and other countries are actively pursuing net zero policies. Let's take my country for example, Vietnam. Just now, the Vietnamese government has sanctioned Green SM, one of the fledgling green companies in Vietnam. Nowadays, it is common to see these electric vehicles cruising all across the nation. In China, 50% of the new cars sold are either EVs or plug-in hybrids. The United States saw its climb from 1% of EV share to roughly 12% in 2025. But these are nothing when we're talking about Norway. By reaching nearly 95% of EV market share in 2025, Norway has truly left its competitors in the dust. At the same time, the European Union also pledged to become climate neutral by 2050. Many major climate institutions are transitioning from fossil energy to nuclear energy. France and other Eastern European countries are other distinguished examples, believing that net zero without nuclear energy is unrealistic. But to be fair, humans are unpredictable. We are still not quite certain whether major emitters still keep their promises. Under the Trump administration, the United States repeatedly attempted to opt out of the Paris Agreement, showing how fragile international commitments can be. Needless to say, it is still too early to draw a conclusion, but also too naive to believe that we're heading to a paradise. So, I invite you to partake in this revolution by simply reducing your plastic consumption and be aware of your carbon footprints. I really hope this video has helped you understand the ongoing climate situations right now, and I'm really thankful that you have managed to stay here this long. I wish you a happy new year, and I will see you next time.